cannot work until it is interfaced with minimum subsystems. So what are among the subsystems? The memory, program, and the data memory, or in general, it is called the semiconductor type memory, and the I/O devices or I/O ports. So these are the storage devices generally used for microcomputer in microcomputer. So a microprocessor is an or CPU is a part of the any microcomputer. So what is microcomputer organization? That means the CPU must be interfaced or connected to the program memory, data memory, or memories, input output device.
So your voice is breaking.
Hello. Hello.
Your voice is breaking.
Hello. Is it audible?
Now it's okay, but sometimes the volume of your voice is decreasing.
The volume is set to the 100%, but the breaking of the voice may occur due to the speed mismatch from where I am operating. That is the problem. Anyway, so a microcomputer consists of CPU as its heart or main building block, memories, which is of semiconductor type memories, input output ports or I/O devices, and other meaning that means maybe optional subsystems, that is peripheral controller. So the functional diagram of any microcomputer looks like this. What is the role of the input output device? Input output device, that means it can accept the logical data, that means binary data, external world, that is user. Otherwise, user cannot directly access the memory. And the CPU works in time sequential manner to fetch the data or instruction from the memory which has been stored previously. So that is why a microcomputer, the CPU may work in a microcomputer. CPU consists of as an internal architecture, the arithmetic logic unit, registers, set of registers, and the timing and the control unit. CPU fetches the stored instruction from the program memory, data, word from memory, from data memory, or from input devices. After processing the data, stores the data. Yes.
Sir, your voice is sometimes getting very low, sometimes it is getting very high, means the signal is not stable.
That's the problem. Yeah, actually, nothing to do with that. Anyway, so try to follow the screen. Otherwise, now there is a power cut going on, and the network speed is very unstable. So CPU consists of an arithmetic logic unit, registers unit, and the timing and the control unit. So what is the role of the CPU in a microcomputer? CPU fetches the instruction stored already in the memory part. It executes the instruction and produces the result. Store the result to the memory also. With the help of arithmetic logic unit, which has been discussed in the previous class, which is an important part, that is processing part of the CPU, which exists in an internal architecture, and some registers units also, which stores temporarily the intermediate results of the arithmetic logical operations. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 registers which can be operated in 8-bit mode as well as the 16-bit mode, that is in pair, fixed pair. Other than the important storage area are program counter PC, which plays an important role for storing or for reading the instructions stored in the memory, as well as the a stack pointer. So these are not 8-bit registers, these are 16-bit registers. So it cannot be operated in 8-bit mode, or it can be only operated in 16-bit mode. The heart of that is how the microprocessor will execute the instruction, that is with the help of timing and the control unit. A big combination and the sequential logic circuit which resides as an important part in the internal architecture of CPU, that is 8085. That means the role of the timing and the control unit, which help the CPU, which perform the basic in executing the basic functions. What are the basic functions? It fetches the instruction either in the form of byte or in the form of 2 byte, that is word stored in the memory. It decodes the instruction with the help of instruction decoder, determines the instruction telling what to do. So that means the performance of the CPU is reflected or will be visualized with the basic timing and the control signal from the pinout diagram. So it executes the instruction. Executing the instruction may include some of the following major tasks: transfer the data from one register to another among the registers in the CPU itself, transfer the data between a CPU register and the specified memory location that is external to the CPU, or input and the output device. Number 3, performing arithmetic and the logical operation on data from a specific memory location or a designated CPU register. That means it can perform both arithmetic and the logical operation. What is the arithmetic operation? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And what is logical operation? That is bitwise and or not exclusive or operations. So bitwise, that means respective bits are or ANDed. The respective bits of an operand which are stored in the registers that can be ANDed with another operand which also is stored in another registers or accumulator. Directing the CPU to change the sequence of fetching instruction, the processing the data creates specific condition. This is not very much important. For a 16-bit microprocessor like 8086, this is very important. That is number 4. Number 5, performing the housekeeping function within the CPU itself in order to establish desired condition at certain registers. What is housekeeping task? That means to store the progress or state of the executions of the program, with the help of flag registers, already discussed in previous class, with the help of stack pointer, a special memory pointer registers, which is of 16-bit width, and etc. It loads control signals such as interrupts and provides appropriate responses. Right now, it is not, you cannot understand unless we go to the next module. Number E, it provides status control in the timing signal that the memory and the input output sections can use. Now, what is meant by the timing and the control actions? Before that, all the signals, it should be understood, all the signals of similar nature are called the burst signal or buses. So that's why this is another block diagram. In this block diagram, there is no single line. That means a line, there is a hatch, which means this line consists of the number of electrical signal lines of 8-bit or 16-bit. For example, as the 8085 is an 8-bit microprocessor, so this is a group of signal lines of width 8-bit or 8. So these are the bus lines. That means for interfacing the subsystems with the CPU follows the bus architecture. So that's why it is called the bus architecture. but the single line indicates the separate timing and the control lines. Now, what are the, because this is a generic diagram for interpreting the CPU with the different subsystems. But what are the detailed diagram that has to be understood? That is interfacing like that with the help of address bus, data bus, like that. So what is address bus? What is address bus? Because the CPU will collect or fetch the instruction stored in a particular location which has an unique address. In case of a 8085, the number of address line is 16. So it can fetch the instruction on data from a unique location whose address is belongs to this any number in between 2 to the power 16, so that it becomes in the range of 0 to 65,536 in decimal, or in the range of 0 to all FFF in hexadecimal notations. Similarly, so this is called the total address space of a memory in case of a 8085 or microprocessor or CPU is called the address space. So address space is nothing but a reserve space which is required to designate the address location of each memory locations by some unique address. This will not be unique means this will not be a redundant. So the 0 means a unique address location which falls to the semiconductor memory. Similarly, 65,536 designates a unique address. Beyond 65,536, there is no address, as because the size of the address space is 64 kilobytes. That is 64K. Why bytes? Because right now we'll be discussing how the memory can be organized, or semiconductor memory can be organized for interfacing with any microprocessor. So that means each unique locations can store 8-bit data or instruction. 8-bit data or instruction in parallel. So that's why 64 kilo is the total number of the locations, and byte means 8-bit. Each location is width of 8-bit, because 8085 is a 8-bit microprocessor, not 16-bit. So a memory location, similarly, an IO device has a unique address space, and the address space of the IO devices associated with the 8085 is not of this value, but it is of 2 to the power 8. That means 256. So the IO address space is much lesser than the memory address space in case of a 8085. When the microprocessor wants to transfer information between itself and a certain memory location on IO devices, it generates the 16-bit addresses with the help of address bus, or with the help of, that means address bus. So this address bus, the information of the signals over the address bus will be decoded by the memory address decoder. Anyway, step by step we will learn what is meant by the memory address decoding. Similarly, the microprocessor can transfer the data to and from the IO having unique address location. How many is the address space of the IO devices? It is 256. So to address a unique location, only 8-bit address lines are required in case of IO. But in case of a memory, all the 16-bit or 16 address lines are required. So how is it possible? That has to be learned separately. That means for the size of data bus is also 8. That is, the set of data lines is 8, referred to as a data bus, and is shared by the number of devices to transfer data. This is must be a common to all memory devices as well as the I/O devices. In addition to that, there are some other peripherals or controller which can be connected via these data lines. So these are the basic fundamental architecture. The name of the that is the user notations for data bus is with its relative order. Mention the relative order is D0 to D7. When D0 is indicate the least significant bit of the data bus and D7 indicate the most significant bit of the data. That's why it is numbered following the relative order. Similarly, AD0 to AD7, basically the address bus or the lower part of the address bus or it is called the lower byte of the address bus because it is a 8-bit line. So AD0 means the least significant bit of the address times 87 is the most significant bit of the lower byte order of the address bus. Then after that,
Sir,
so ultimately there are other 8-bit lines of the address bus because the size or width of the address bus is 16. So again, the high order address bus starts from the A8 and it goes up to A15. Now, the lower order address bus for 8085 is also shared commonly as a data transfer. That's why the name implies that is AD0 to AD7. So other than address and the data bus, all have a physically significant, that is the single electrical signal, which belongs to the control bus. So what are the basic
Sir?
control bus? So
sir,
that,
excuse me.
yes,
Sir, can you please explain? You told that the most significant bit and the least significant bit. How? Means
if we
what is the
consider,
significance of bit?
if we consider a 4-bit binary number, if you consider the arithmetic sum or summation process of the 4-bit binary number, so how you will perform the addition in digital electronics? How we perform the addition? No. So this is an example. This is an example of half-adder digital electronics that is using the single bit addition, which will produce sum and the carry. Output is 2. But in case of a 4-bit, how it will extend this idea? So this is the idea. So the 2 operands are there. Each operand are of 4-bit. One operand is called A0 to A3, which is a relative bit. So A0 means the least significant bit, and A3 indicates the most significant bit. Similarly, for addition, there must be another second operand, which is represented by B operand, which is also a 4-bit binary number having least significant bit B0 and the most significant bit B3. So that the 2 respective relative bits are added by full adder. So their sum will be produced by this 4-bit result, which are the least significant bit, that is S0, and the most significant bit S3. Or the carry will be propagated from each previous half adder or full adder circuit. The first full adder carry input will be 0. That means you can use the half adder. So that is the basic concepts of 4-bit binary addition. Now you can understand, that means what is the significance of the most significant bit as well as the least significant bit. And why these are designated with this symbol that is B0. That means 0 position bit, and B3, that is bit at the, that means this is the first bit or least significant bit designated by B0, and B3 is the most significant bit that is in the fourth position designated by B3. And also likewise B1, B2. So that is the significance of how we can perform the addition as well as the subtraction in digital or Boolean logic. Now, so that's why all the address in the database has its relative order of the bit. So automatically by the subscript, you can understand what is the positions of this data or address lines in a bus signal. Now, what are the basic control signals without which these control signals are attached or associated as an internal architecture with the timing and the control unit? So what are the basic control signals? How the addressing will proceed? A basic control signal, that means read bar, write bar. Why bar? That means when the digital logic becomes active, so the low signals will be active. Otherwise, if it is high, then it is inactive. So that is the significance of the notation read bar and the write bar. Then the IOM bar. That means when this signal becomes high at high logic, it signifies the CPU is transferring data to IO or reading data from IO. But when this signal becomes low, which indicates the CPU is accessing memory during transfer of the data to and from address locations of memory. So these are the important timing and control signals. Other timing and the control signals are also there. For example, address latch enable is another important timing and the control signals. We have discussed the read bar, write bar, IOM bar. But for addressing either CPU to memory as well as the IO, ALE is required. So this is an address latch enable, the name of the signal. Why the name implies, it will be clear to you shortly. Other than these are the basic timing and signal, that is write bar, read bar, IOM bar, ALE. That is 4 signals. In addition to that, there are some other signals like ready, INTR, we will discuss later on. So, and S0, S1 are not the control signal but called the status signal, S0, S1, which are coming from the pin number 33 and the pin number 29. So these belongs to the timing and the control signal, except S0, S1 are called strictly the status signal. That means CPU 8085 works in a time sequential manner, and in doing so, some amount of the finite time, very small time is required. So at what stage the CPU is working, at what stage during the completion of the instruction execution is or will prevail, that is indicated by the digital logic set of this data signal execution. In the sense, there is a truth table. The truth table says consider the logic state of the 2 sequence or 3 sequence, S0, S1 mainly, and also the IOM bar. So when the S0, S1 is all high and IOM bar is 0, the function is that the CPU is fetching instruction, that is called the output fetch process. When the status signal has or at this logic high and 0 in this order, and the IOM bar is still low, it indicates the memory read operation is in progress. Similarly, memory write operation is in progress. Similarly, these two combinations for the status signal S0, S1 indicate the IO read and the write operations are in progress because the IMR signal becomes high. So when the IMR signal becomes high, it indicates the IO operations. The CPU is accessing IO. Similarly, when all the signals become at a high logic, interrupt process is going on. But CPU is acknowledging some interrupt process that is different. When all the signals become zero, that means CPU is in the deadlock state called the hot state. Is doing nothing. Once the CPU has reached to the hot state, the CPU will stay permanently until and unless the power is made off or switched off. So hot state means that means it is an indefinite period the CPU is sleeping, is doing nothing. Other than hot state, CPU in doing all the times a specific task, either in fetching the instruction from the address location, fetching the data from the IO devices, executing the instructions with the help of its own instruction decoder, and so on, and transferring the result to the either memory location or IO device or to some registers location. So these are the combination of the tasks CPU always doing. It does not sleep until and unless it is forced to enter either with the help of instruction, that is software code, or by any means enters into the hot state. Once the CPU enters the hot state, it cannot resume its function. So this is the status for performance of the CPU properties. And the user can monitor these two signals, digital signal S0, which are called the status signal. Now, how the CPU will work? How the CPU will work? First of all, we can see there are two basic signals called marked as pin number 1 and 2, which are designated as the timing and the control signal called X1 and the X2. For the performance of the CPU, not only the power supply, DC power supply is required, very stable power supply of 5 volt, but also the timing and the control signals are required over the two pins, pin number 1 and 2, which are marked as X1, X2. So without the application of any timing and the control signal, basic timing and the control signal, having 50% duty cycle, that is perfectly squared in digital level, the CPU cannot do anything. So power supply and the timing and the basic timing and the control signals is essentially required. So what is timing and the control signals? This is like that. So this is the control signal, and the clock speed or the clock rate of the control signals for 8085 CPU may vary to the top, that is the minimum speed of 6.144 megahertz, and that is done with the help of either its internal LC tune clock circuit or like that. So LC basically signifies the crystal like that. So this is the typical clock circuit, a piezoelectric crystal having frequency 6.144 megahertz is connected via a capacitor, and the terminals of the crystal is connected to the X1, X2. So the internal clock generating circuit or oscillator circuit resides inside the CPU, or if required, external clock circuit may be connected via this combination, or that is, in this case, only crystal should be connected so that internal clock circuit inside the CPU 8085 will generate the 6.144 megahertz. Otherwise, the external square wave oscillator circuit can be connected via this combination logic to the one pin of the one pin that is X1 and the X2 can be made floated or not connected in C. So either in the form of internal clock circuit or in the form of external clock circuit, the basic timing signals can be applied. As well as there is another option, that means using a RC timing element, this can be connected without any crystal. That is the simplest. So what is the formula? Formula of the LC. That means in case of a LC tank circuit, the formula of L and the C are given. So F will be the frequency of the timing signal can be found out in this formula. So that is another option. So this is another option. That means we can, this is an internal clock circuit of the CPU, typically using the T flip-flop. So the inverter resides inside the CPU. So this is an internal block diagram or built-in clock generator circuit. 8085 CPU has. So that means when the crystal frequency is 6.144 megahertz due to the T flip-flop, according to the digital logic idea, the output at the Q point that will be divided by 2. So basically T flip-flop divides the external frequency by 2. So the signal frequency, that is the clock out frequency, which are available from the T flip-flop is 6.144 megahertz by 2, that is 3.077 megahertz. So the external clock frequency is 6.144 megahertz, but CPU 8085 divides it with the help of its own built-in clock generator circuit by 2. And these signals will be drawn out by a separate pin according to the diagram. So we can see this is the crystal input, this is the clock out 37. So 37 and the 37 pin will be squared with a frequency of 3.077 megahertz. Or when the CPU will drive these basic timing signals to the all other peripheral of the resources to be connected, they will be operated under this frequency, that is 3.07. Because the built-in clock generator will divide automatically by 2 the input frequency. So this is about the timing circuit. That means how the timing signals can be applied. But what is more important, the reset circuit or power and reset circuit. So there is a reset in at the pin number 36. Without start its operation, that is fetching the instruction from a memory address. The memory address will be supplied by which registers program counter according to the internal diagram. How it looks like that. You can see there is a 16-bit register program counter, and program counter output is a 16-bit, which will be divided over the low order address data buffer, another register, and the high order address data buffer. Finally, it will come out over the 16-bit address line designated as AD0 to A50. So the content of the program counter plays an important role for pointing or addressing the memory address. Now, there is a reset in signal, which I am talking, that is reset in signal. What the reset in signal will do, it will clear all the internal registers as well as the program counter to 0 value. The flag registers will be set to 0 value. That means there are 5 flag bits in relative order. Accumulator will be cleared all the DP registers will be cleared to 0, as well as the program counter will be cleared to 0. Which means when the resetting signal will occur, what is the resetting signal? Why? Because this pin will be at a low digital logic with the help of power on reset circuit. What is that? That means this is the power on reset circuit. This is connected to the resetting pin. That is pin number 36. So the power on circuit is like that. From the circuit, there we can see that there is an RC combination. So capacitor of this value 1 microfarad will be fully charged to the 5 volt. So that means the 5 volt will be applied in a normal condition to the resetting pin. But resetting bar, it is a resetting bar, that means 5 volt is at 5 volt signifies the not the active logic, because it is at high logic level. So now what will happen? If we press this switch, the capacitor will discharge via this switch, we got the switch via this resistance. So suddenly the voltage becomes 0. If we press momentarily this push button, the capacitor will discharge and voltage across the capacitor will suddenly go to the low logic. Again, by releasing the push button, the capacitor will get charging via this path. So exponentially the capacitor voltage across the capacitor will build, and finally again it will be charged to full DC power supply voltage, that is 5 volt. That means momentarily the capacitor voltage drop to the low voltage, and that will be utilized. This condition will be utilized to apply the power on reset signal via the resetting bar. Understand? So we can use push button directly here, but what is the role of this diode, reverse bias diode? We can see that means if the voltage, power supply voltage varies beyond the 5 volt, what will happen? The capacitor voltage under fully charged condition will also increase. But the 8085, all the electrical signals must be within the level of maximum 5 volt. It may damage the internal hardware blocks by applying the excessive voltage protection. Diode is acting as a protection. That means when the diode is forward biased by 1 point or by 0.7 voltage or 0.4 voltage over the germanium diode 4148 IM4148. So ultimately these voltage will not rise because the diode will be forward biased and the excessive voltage will be bypassed. And this will be limited or clipped with the voltage level of 5 volt minus these things. So that will be within the safe range of which cannot damage the internal hardware of the 8085. So these are written. So that's why the typical power on reset circuit looks like this. A protective diode under reverse bias condition, a push button via the 100 ohm resistance. This resistance is 100 ohm because this capacitor must have enough conductive path to get discharged. So this is very important. So upon power on reset condition, the program counter will be cleared to 0. So what will happen? The microprocessor, with the help of its program counter, will point to the 0 memory location in the memory address space. And it will fetch the instruction with the help of read bar line. What is the instruction? What are the data sequentially? And it will flow to the lower order address bit, that means data lines, via these things. So times in a sequential manner. Once the instruction will be executed, automatically the program counter content which was in the 00 location will be implemented by 1. So program counter followed by increment decrement address slash will output which will automatically update or will be implemented according to the completion status of the current instruction already executed. So we will study in detail on the instruction cycle of a 8085. Otherwise, program counter is only the register which helps the CPU to indicate the memory addressing, as well as the program counter will also helpful for IO addressing. But in general, the instruction generally resides not in the IO but in the memory location, and the instruction and the data are stored in the memory location in a sequential manner. That means the address space, the 00 location is the bottom address, and the most top address is the 65,536 location, that is all FF addressing. So the instruction will be executed in a bottom to top manner in sequentially in case of a 8085. It will not be like that in a haphazard way. So bottom to top, or if we signify the top address is 00 location, so bottom address will be all FF in expression. So the instruction will be executed sequentially in a top-down manner in case of a 8085. So this is very important. How the program counter plays the role for addressing uniquely to memory devices. Now let us come to the basic memory organizations. Basically, there are different ways of classifying the memory. It is nothing but a storage device which stores the information in the form of binary bit. Information may include programs, instruction, data, as well as the data. So there are two kinds of the memory: semiconductor memories and the magnetic memories. Nowadays, the magnetic memories belong to the category of auxiliary storage device in computer technology. Nowadays, optical storage devices are very much in use. For example, compact disc CD. These are optical storage devices. So semiconductor memories are faster, much more faster than any other of the auxiliary storage device like magnetic or optical. Also, the semiconductor storage devices are available in the smaller size and the lighter weight, consume less power of the order of milliwatt. So semiconductor memories are used as a main, but the magnetic memories are slow and they are cheaper than the semiconductor memory. Magnetic memories are used as a secondary or the auxiliary memories of a computer or microcomputer system, which can store the bulk storage of data and the information. Now, how the semiconductor memories are organized. For example, this truth table says if there are 3 address lines associated with a semiconductor memory, so they have an 8 locations. Why? Following the rule 2 to the power 3. So there are 8 locations. So the address are designated 0 to 7. And the content of the memory locations are designated by this number array M0 to M7. What is the storage size of each location? In general, for a semiconductor memory, 8 bit. That means it has an 8 subset. So that means address bus length is, for this example, is 3. So 3-bit address bus can address uniquely the 8 different memory locations. Now, this idea can be extended to the, in general, which are the k address lines or k bit, A0 to k minus, ak minus 1. Where k is the smallest integer, satisfying 2k greater than or is equal to n. That means the memory has been specified with the first number which indicates the total volume of the size of the address location multiplied by the width of the subcell, that is 8. That means there are 8 sub-storage locations of each address location. That means into. So into means 8 means bytes. That's why for this example it is 200 byte. Similarly, in case of a 8085 or in case of another example, that means if the address of a particular semiconductor memory is 11, A0 to A9, sorry 10. So the unique address location can be addressed by 1024 memory location. In case of a 16 address location, 16 bit, so this number will be 65,536 or 64 kilo in binary. So that is called the capacity of the memory specified terms of the maximum number of the word or byte which can be stored. So this example says that means 216 memory address location is 64 kilo memory location. So what is the size? What is the specification of the semiconductor memory which can be connected to a 8085? We should add into 8, so 64 kilobyte. But in general, if we do not mention the size of the subcell, the different maximum number of the address location is 64 kilo, which can have address in terms of the hexadecimal number, because we know the binary number can be again expressed by the hexadecimal number by dividing 16 base. So the first address location of a 64 kilobyte memory space is all 0, and the last address location will be all if the base is indicated. That means the base in radix 8 system. And how this memory can be organized? So we can consider a single D-type flip-flop, which has a preset and the clear input. What is how the D-type flip-flop works? By applying a basic timing signal, a square wave signal to the clock input, what will be the logic state at this D input, that is either 0 or 1, that will be passed to the output and the inverted output. That means the information about the single bit, that is the D input, that will be stored after applying a clock signal. If it is a bubble, there is a bubble, we can, that means the information can be stored at the negative phase of the clock signal, that means at the falling edge of the clock signal. Otherwise, the information here will be stored at the rising or the positive edge of the clock signal. So this is the trailing edge and the leading edge of the timing signal clock, active clock. The positive clock pulse means if the signal logic is 0, that is in the quotient state, that means no information can undergo the transition from 0 to low, and it will stay. So the information about the D input will be stored. And the negative clock means like this. So that ultimately, if there is a bubble, the active clock logic is at negative edge, otherwise active clock logic will be the positive edge. So that is indicated in the timing diagram. So ultimately, this D flip-flop, idea of the D flip-flop can be thought as a single bit storage element. Or now we can conceive, that means the 8-bit D flip-flop, that is octal D flip-flop. The output will be all 8. So the width of the substorage element is 8. So this is one unique address location which has an 8-bit sublocation. By using this control input buffer, the output of this 8-bit parallel registers can be enabled when it becomes low. Otherwise, the output will be at the floating logic. What is floating logic? That means it is neither low nor high, but will be at a half of the high logic electrical voltage that may be called, that is indicated by the high impedance state or jet. So it will be at 2.5 volt. Otherwise, in TTL logic, the zero logic means electrical voltage from 0 to 0.8 volt. And the high logic means 2.4 to 1 watt, that is up to power supply voltage. This is. So that is the standard. But if it is below, if in between 2.4, 0.8 to 2.4 voltage, it is a high impedance state or floating logic. So floating logic is replaced or high impedance state as indicated by the H or not H, that is high jet. It is floating logic. So that means it is neither low or not at low high logic. So that is the functions of the octal latch. It is used as a parallel 8-bit storage device. So this is one of them, basic idea of how we can build a single unit or single bit storage. But if we consider the semiconductor memory, then what will be the memory organization? If we consider the n-bit registers, that means each D flip-flop, n number of the D flip-flop, that will form the size of the storage area of m bit. And this is one unique address location we can consider, that is the array of the D flip-flop. So this is the basic structure of the n-bit registers. Now, development of the memory chip is the starting point or origin of the how the memory, semiconductor memory can be organized. Let us consider a memory of 16 watt. Each of 8 bits is to be developed. 16 watt can store the 16 memory location, each having a unique address, and each location to address 16 memory locations, 16 unique addresses are required, which needs how many address lines? 4 address lines over A0 to A3 in relative order. The content of the binary information may be all 0 or 1. So there are total number of the addresses 16. The minimum value is 0 and the maximum value is how much? If in hexadecimal, but in binary all 1. To set up this memory chips using ICs like that, we can use this idea. What is that? It is the address decoder. So depending on these combinations of this 4-bit binary number, out of 16 lines will be enabled, and each line will activate the octal latch. And this is the 8-bit data line. Octal latch, why? Because there are 8 number of the subsets. So the information which is thrown over this 8-bit data bus, that will be stored after uniquely addressing by the 4-bit number with the help of address decoder. So this acts as an address decoder. You must be conversant about the combination logic, that is priority decoder. What is the specification of this decoder? The total number of the input, that is 4, multiplied by or is to total number of the decoded line to be selected, that is here it is 16. So the 4 into 16 address decoders will be or is used here as a memory address decoder, and each memory location is built with a octal parallel register. So this is the basic idea of how the memory chips can be formed with the help of address decoding and with the help of octal register. So development of, we call it the 16 into 8 memory for storing the data. So how this 16 into 8 memory locations can be addressed with the help of how many signals as well as the data signal with the help of 4 address bits. Now there is a parallel line. Means in general, this is a standard. That means each line's address line may assume either zero logic or the high logic. To signify it, the parallel lines are shown with a transition of like. Similarly for data, over the 8th number of the data line, any data line, single data line may assume zero logic or the high logic. So when the storing will be done with the timing and the control signal, basic timing signal, right bar, initially the right bar will be inactive at high logic, but when the right bar will undergo at the active low logic, then at this timing instant, the information over the data lines, all 8 data lines will be stored. Yeah. You can see what is the function of the right bar, because the priority decoder has an enabled input, which is at active low. So when right bar is high, no output will be selected or decoded. When the right bar line will undergo active low, only depending on the address line combination, one of the 16 lines will undergo to the active low. So that's why writing the information to the storage area using the address, right bar signal is very important. But when the output, that means during the reading operation, so right bar means once the right bar occurs, the information will be stored to the memory location. But whether for reading the operations, what will happen? Output bar has to be activated by applying low logic. So we can connect the read bar line to the microprocessor output enabled line, because during read operation, nothing the right bar, but the read bar will be required. So that's why the basic control signal is right bar and the read bar, but here it is output enabled. That means output will be produced over the data line. Here it is unidirectional, but when the data will be retrieved from the stored location, it must have some input-output line. That means the data bus is of bidirectional in nature, but the address bus is of unidirectional. That means it is from microprocessor to this memory device. So that means with the basic timing signal and the timing diagram to store and to read the information over the addressed location. So this concept is very much important, because now we are going to the other things. That means the two-dimensional, this is for read bar example, two-dimensional array locations, the timing diagram of that like that. So finally, read bar and the write bar operations are mixed, because these are coming from the microprocessor pins, as well as additional enabling signal, that is chip enabling signal, that is also helpful for the two type of decoder. But these are parallel line. That means this is a common line to this block and this block. So schematic diagram of the 16 into 8 memory location with read and the write operation. This diagram. But commonly used memory organization follows this structure. So we have understood. That means how the read write operation for a n into m memory is possible with the help of address lines, having k number of the address lines with a data width of m number, d0 to dm number. So this is the generic diagram. So schematic diagram of n into m read write operation for a semiconductor memory. Inside this block, we have already discussed the big circuit. But this is that means only linear addressing or linear decoding is possible. Decoding means, that means from the binary information over the address line, what location will be selected or address. So that is called the memory decoding. But in general, what will happen? If the address lines are very, very high, that is, say 128, so this is very inefficient decoding. This is called the linear decoding system or single decoding, because the type of priority decoder will be bigger, or the priority decoder will have a much larger number of the output line. For example, for a k-bit addressing, the size of the decoder will be how much? 2 to the power k number of the output of the decoder lines will be required internally. That is very large. So there is another efficient type of decoding, memory decoding, called the two-level decoding or array type decoding. That means the each locations are organized in a two-dimensional array, like this. So these memory arrays in the form of chip has a b number of block, and the each block has s number of the subset, so that it will form b into s total volume. Some of the lines are decoded partially with the help of row decoder. How much? That is k number of lines. These are partitioned into p number of the row line and k number of the column line, so that p number of the row lines will be independently decoded by the row decoder, as well as the p number, that means k minus p, which are the rest lines, will be decoded, that is s number of the lines will be decoded by the column decoder internal. But if we use a previous type of linear decoding, what will be the output of the decoder line? That will be larger than the sum. Here is it is a p number of the decoded lines, and here is the s number of the decoded lines. So p plus s will be much lesser than 2 to the power k. Definitely, it can be proved. So that means with the help of two-level decoding, that is row decoding and the column decoding, each locations of the memory can be addressed. So this is called the two-level decoding technique. So internally, there must be a row decoder and there must be a column decoder. And this is the memory chips. The volume is like that, 128 blocks and 128 blocks. Each block is of 8-bit length, like this. So this architecture is much more efficient in respect of the accessing each address location. And this is the common architecture of the semiconductor memory using two-level decoding. Now these decoders are available within the memory chips IC. It is not externally or explicitly used. So this diagram is a building block of the memory ICs or memory chip. The memory chips are called static RAM type, SRAM type. There is also another type of memory chips which is much economic, that is dynamic RAM, DRAM type. We'll discuss later on because the technique is totally different. This diagram belongs to the 6116, that is 2K of the size, total number of address locations is 2K, that is 2 into 1024. 1K unit means 1024 in binary, multiplied by the width of the data bus, 2K8 location. Similarly, 6132 is another kind of memory chip whose size is 4K into 8. 6164 is another kind of static memory IC, which is of 16K or 8K, 8 kilobytes. The standard is, if we divide the last two decimal digit by 2, we get the by 8, sorry, 616 by 8, we get the total size of the SRAM ICs. Like for 16, by 8, it will be 2K. For 32 by 8, it will be 4K. For 64 by 8, it will be 8K, and so on. So these are the standard of the memory organization which are used in case of a microprocessor. Now, so whether you did follow or not, please explain. Particularly memory organization is very much important in case of a microprocessor interfacing. Please respond whether you are following. Otherwise, you have the knowledge of the memory organizations at this point, as well as the parallel shift register. I told you to go to the shift register part, parallel and the serial shift register. So please respond.
Sir,
Yes.
after this class, can you please send us the PDFs that you were referring to in this class? Then it would be helpful for us for future reference.
Yes, I am giving all the reference related to this chapter, because these are available from the NTPL. Everything will be, because that means today's topic is organizations of the memories and the microcomputer. So all these related relevant notes will be supplied, which I am referring or which I am following. So these lectures are available from the NTPL in a very simple manner. But the books, you can follow the Gaunkar. You can follow the Gaunkar, Ramesh Gaunkar book. But these will be the topics. Memory organization will not be discussed in detail. That is the problem. So conceptual is very much, that is concept must be very, very clear on this topic, that is the memory organization. Because this knowledge of the memory organization is based on your prerequisite knowledge of parallel shift registers and the memory architecture. Memory is also a bulk storage device, semiconductor type, which can be classified according to its organization, which I have discussed, as well as the nature of the material technology. For example, SRAM, DRAM, and the other type of memory, that is whether it is ROM, classification of the memory, RAM, read-write memory, read-only memory, EEPROM, electrical erasable programmable read-only. Now I will discuss the type of classification of the memory organizations in my next class. How the memory can be classified. This is the organization part. How the memory can be organized. How the storage cell can be organized in a different manner. That means in a linear decoding manner as well as the two-level decoding.